All right, let's jump right into this explainer, and we're going to kick things off with a very quick, highly personal assessment just for you. Yep, you. We're starting with a little psychological trickery.
So I want you to really lean in and engage with this for a second. Just look right at the screen. I'm actually going to attempt a sort of cold reading on you right now, all the way from a distance, just based on how you're interacting with this information. You ready for this?
Okay, here's my read on your inner self. First, you have a great need for other people to like and admire you. Second, you have a tendency to be critical of yourself. And finally, you pride yourself as an independent thinker, and you don't just accept what others say without some solid proof. Now, take a second and think about that. How perfectly do those statements describe the real you? Did I completely nail it?
Well, if you felt a little spark of recognition there, I gotta confess, I just pulled the rug out from under you. I didn't actually read your mind, and those statements, they were absolutely not uniquely about you. In fact, literally everyone tuning in just got the exact same reading. What we just did was break down the illusion of a classic psychological magic trick called the Barnum Effect, also known as the Forer Effect. Basically, it's our human tendency to give incredibly high accuracy ratings to vague, general personality descriptions, completely believing they're tailored specifically to us, when really, they apply to pretty much everybody.
So now that we've experienced the trick firsthand, here's the roadmap for this explainer. First, we'll look at the classic Forer's experiment. Then we'll dive into the psychology of belief, followed by how exploiters actually use this trick, and finally, how you can defend your own mind.
Part 1. The Classic Forer Experiment. The 1948 Classroom Demonstration.
Let's see how this whole concept started. Back in 1948, psychologist Bertram Forer got 39 of his psychology students together and gave them what he called a diagnostic interest blank test. He framed it as this robust, serious personality assessment. So the students diligently fill it out. But Forer? He took their actual answers and basically chucked them in the trash. A week later, he hands back identical, completely fake personality profiles to every single student. He then asks them to rate the accuracy of these profiles from 0 to 5. And keep in mind, these students were absolutely convinced they were getting highly personalized results.
And here is the brilliant twist. Forster didn't even write these fake profiles himself. He literally took a pair of scissors, bought a newsstand astrology book, cut out a bunch of vague statements, and just stitched them all together. Seriously? Those statements you read earlier about being an independent thinker or being overly critical, that's exactly what Forster handed out. He just snipped off the star signs. And the result to this little stunt? It's captured in this jaw-dropping number, 4.26. Out of a maximum score of 5, the students gave these completely fake, generalized, plagiarized horoscopes an average accuracy score of 4.26. I mean, think about that for a second. Better than 4 out of 5 incredibly smart university students said a description written about literally nobody described them almost perfectly. Forger proved that you don't need some magical psychic gift to make people feel uniquely seen. You really just need the right kind of vague paragraph.
Section 2. The psychology of belief. Why our brains fall for it?
So why does this work? Let's look at how we process information. The Barnum Effect highlights something called the Pollyanna principle. Basically, we are wired to readily accept flattering, positive traits, but we sharply reject negative, specific flaws. Like, if I tell you that you're an independent thinker who is sometimes misunderstood, you'll accept it right away because it makes you look good. But if I say you're a terrible listener who avoids responsibility, you're going to immediately push back. The Barnum Effect relies super heavily on positive, vague language that you inherently want to be true.
And this reveals what's really happening inside your head. The Barnum Effect is basically just confirmationary bias wearing a costume. When you read a vague statement, neuroscience shows that a part of your brain called the medial prefrontal cortex jumps into high gear. It actively scours your memory for specific moments that match those vague words. If a piece of paper tells you, at times you feel unsure of your decisions, your brain doesn't objectively fact-check that against the rest of the human race. It just remembers that one time you couldn't pick a restaurant for dinner, and you think, wow, this test really gets me. You are the one doing the heavy lifting by supplying all the personal meaning.
To put this into perspective, this isn't just some quirky classroom experiment from the 40s. According to YouGov survey data, 30% of Americans and 20% of Britons actually believe that star signs can reveal deeply accurate things about their personal traits. We're talking about over 100 million people in just those two countries alone falling for this exact psychological loophole.
Section 3. How exploiters use it. From magicians to mentalists.
You know, the term Barnum Effect was actually coined in 1956 by a psychologist named Paul E. Meehl. He named it after the famous 19th century circus showman P.T. Barnum. Barnum was notorious for exploiting people's gullibility, and he's famously, though maybe inaccurately, credited with the phrase, "There is a sucker or fool born every minute." He totally understood that if you offer something touching on universal human experiences, people will practically line up to buy it.
Today, this effect is frequently weaponized through a technique called cold reading. Think about when a psychic or a medium sits down with a total stranger. First, they exude complete confidence and authority. Then, they start dropping those vague, universally true Barnum statements, sprinkling in a little flattery to lower your defenses. But here's where the real trick happens. They watch your facial cues and your body language. If they say, "I sense you've struggled with a recent transition," and you lean forward or your eyes widen, boom, they pivot and dig deeper right there. They aren't reading your mind. They are just reading your physical reactions to their vague guesses.
And the real-world cost of this? It is absolutely staggering. The Barnum Effect currently fuels a massive global astrology and psychic industry that's estimated to be worth around $9 billion. $9 billion. People are paying serious, hard-earned money to be told things about themselves that were never actually about them in the first place.
And let's be super clear here, this isn't just an old-school parlor trick played in dimly lit tents anymore. It powers modern digital experiences too. Have you seen those trendy AI personality roasts that scan your social media profile and supposedly tell you exactly who you are? They feel hyper-personalized, right? Like they're incredibly perceptive. But underneath the hood, that algorithmic text generation is just heavily relying on broad linguistic patterns and Barnum statements to make you feel like the machine is staring right into your soul.
Section 4. Defending your mind. Breaking the illusion.
So how do you protect yourself? Your very first line of defense is a simple mental shift. Whenever you take a personality test or read a horoscope, stop asking yourself, is this statement accurate? Because, as we've seen, generic statements are accurate in a broad human nature kind of way. Instead, you need to ask, is this statement unique? Does it apply uniquely to me, or could it apply just as easily to the guy sitting next to me on the bus? The second you demand uniqueness, the magic trick completely falls apart.
Which brings us right back to Bertram Foer's ultimate conclusion from his 1948 study. He pointed out that true self-awareness does not come from that fleeting feeling of recognition you get when reading a paragraph. Validation of a personality description by the person being described is, scientifically speaking, pretty much worthless. If you want to know who you really are, you have to look at actual behavioral evidence. What do you consistently do across time, across different situations, when literally nobody is watching? That consistent pattern is your true self, not some story a stranger just handed you.
I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought. What is the capital of Australia? A lot of people will instinctively say Sydney, but why? Well, because it just feels right. It's famous, it fits the neat little story we have in our heads. But the actual capital is Canberra. The Barnum Effect works the exact same way. It hands you a personality description that feels right, and because of that feeling, you just accept it without checking the facts. But feelings of recognition are not the same thing as accuracy. So the next time someone claims to know the deep hidden secrets of your personality, ask yourself, are they really seeing you, or are they just relying on the fact that you desperately want to be seen?